Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of 20 Minutes. And again, glad to be back bringing these to you. Of course, we took a little time off because, well, we had the holidays and it came down with a little thing called COVID, which knocked me out of the box for a week or two. And then obviously January rolls around with recruiting, and obviously high school coaches are very busy trying to get their kids placed and dealing with college coaches coming in. And as we talked about before, all of a sudden underclassmen recruiting has hit a new big time period now suddenly in January. So again, always changing, but glad to be back with 20 Minutes. And certainly one of the guests that as soon as I started putting together a list of guys that I wanted to talk to, this guy was right at the top. And again, just very happy and excited to bring in the new head coach of Providence Catholic, Tyler Plantz. And again, Tyler, appreciate you taking time. And I know, former, an alum of Providence Catholic, your family name, really synonymous with that high school. And, I'm sure you're still settling in and getting comfortable, but welcome back and congratulations on the job.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you very much for having me. And we're excited. I mean, I'm excited. My family's excited, and it's really cool just to be back. It's home for us, and been there for about a month, and again, just picked up right where you left off and been hitting the ground running. So it's been awesome so far.
You ever really leave Providence though?
It feels that way. So it feels that way because then Zach played, and then Logan played, and then my youngest sister, Abrielle, actually just graduated, and she went to St. Mary's, took my place over there in South Bend, and now
there you go.
Now I'm back here for her. So
is it a rule like you have to have another Plantz replacing in the South Bend area? Or
yeah, I think it's word of mouth. Yeah, it's one of those unwritten rules where it just needs to be continued. The tradition and namesake's got to be kept on.
So your story's interesting because, pal, you sure as heck look to me like you're kind of on your way and on a track to kind of moving up the college coaching tree and getting more and more involved. And it seemed like your responsibilities were growing as you made the move further up. But here you are. You're back in high school. You're coaching your alma mater. I think I probably know some pretty good reasons why you ended up making that decision, but why don't you give us the reasons why you decided to kind of get off that college coaching grind and give high school coaching a shot?
So this decision was much bigger than me. Just like the game is itself, it's about paying it forward and how do you fit into a bigger picture. And this past year, my brother passed away in a car accident. He's a guy that played Will linebacker. I played Mike linebacker. I was a senior. He was a junior. And it was something that was just tragic and a shock to my family, and still is today.
Yeah.
So making that transition from college back to high school, maybe in some people's eyes, like what was the decision? Why would you do something like that? There was a great trajectory there, and it's bigger than me. It's being able to, one, take care of my family, be able to come home and be closer to them. And beyond that, this past year, they dedicated the weight room to my brother and named it the Zach Plantz Performance Center. And when they put that together and I came back for dedication night, it was something that just hit home. Yeah. I knew that when I saw that this had to be done the right way. And in my eyes, I didn't think anyone could do it better than me if I stepped into this role. So being able to physically carry on Zach has been the major reason for that. So even beyond the dedication to it, we also dedicated Zach's life insurance check to the weight room. So it's actually kind of the last tangible piece of him here.
Yeah.
So being able every day to train the guys in there, to see the memento to him, and then be able to pay forward what Providence did for us. As you know, the tradition there is second to none, and
unquestioned. Yeah.
And just the people that have come through, like the Ulstas and the Clevelands, and just the blue collar tough mentality of what it takes to be successful there. And a lot of that was grown in the weight room. And that's what kids learn over 4 years, and they take on to Notre Dame, they take on to Iowa, they take on to the highest level of football, or they take it on to college to lead a very successful career. But just the mentality that's established in there was synonymous with Zach. And then it's something that I want to be able to carry on every day moving forward.
Yeah. And you mentioned family, and, I was aware of the tragedy with your brother and had a feeling that might've had something to do with it, but you mentioned family, and anyone that knows and knows anyone involved in college recruiting and assistant coaches and what they have to put up with and what they deal with, Tyler, they have no life. I mean, you are working 90% plus of the time. And, again, it's this quote unquote glamorous life for coaches, but as you well can attest to, it's truly nonstop.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a 5 to 9 minimum expectation on a daily basis. It's something that is a lot of time, but it doesn't feel like, okay, you're working on the weekends. You're doing what you love and what you care about. And the recruiting thing stinks, but you're able to evaluate and talk to people that you're going to take care of for 4 years. And obviously the time commitment's huge, and what it does to a lot of people's families, if not managed the right way, could be super detrimental. But kind of that grind is for some people what they live for. And I mean, it's something that I get excited about, something that I want to be able to bring back to the high school level, where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to be able to dedicate all this time with just the expectation of, okay, I'm up at 4 a.m. because that's how I've operated. And I'll work throughout the course of the day because that's how I've operated. And then being able to put that at maybe a level that doesn't have quite the detail of the next level, I think we'll really be able to bring Providence to the next level. But yeah, coaching in college is in many minds very glamorous. The Saturday under the lights, the college game day is huge, but the amount of hours that lead up to that point are incredible.
Yeah, and again, just family. I mean, if you're going to get married or are married or plan on having a family, I think that's when you really have to look at it hard and say, hey, are you going to really be able to do this justice and pull it off? And a lot of guys will tell you that's why they end up, and we're even seeing it on the high school level now, where I think more and more guys are looking at their situation and saying, hey, I've got to be closer to my family. So yeah, there's no doubt it does not mesh well with trying to raise a young family and being on that assistant coach grind in college for sure.
Well, this is actually an awesome opportunity to talk about her.
Sure.
So Jana's my fiance, and she always busts me about, you have all these interviews. Why haven't you brought me up yet?
There you go.
I'm like, here it is. There's a perfect segue. So thank you for that. But
you got her cell. We can.
Yeah, right.
Plug her in. She can have her own segment.
She should, again, because that was a big thing I said too, is like, we dated for a while in college, and she was living in Chicago, I was living in South Bend, and I was like, if you really want to be able to understand what this is going to be about, this is something I'm really passionate about, and obviously I love you, but again, I'm not going to want you to see it from the outside. I just kind of explain it, come to South Bend and kind of live it and see it firsthand a little bit. So she came into South Bend and lived in the area, and just kind of was able to experience the hours. And then after I kind of talked to her, what do you think? She signed on, and I proposed, and we're getting married this summer. So it's
awesome.
Definitely a commitment. It's a different thing, and you have to find the right person to be on board for it.
I think one of the things that blew my mind when I was looking and doing a little bit of research, which I know it's hard to believe, but every once in a while I do a little bit of homework. You are now the third head coach in the history of Providence Catholic. How weird is that? That is just strange.
It is crazy. It is crazy where it's like you look back on the records, because initially it was an all-girls school, turned co-ed, and Coach Seth took it from, which is just a great testament to him, testament to just perseverance and grit, where they couldn't figure out a way to win, and then continued chiseling away for decades, started winning, and then couldn't figure out a way to lose when it was all said and done. So it's pretty cool to be able to pick his ear about just how he grew a program, how he did different things, things that were important to him that need to be carried on. And then beyond that, he was an offensive line guy. And that's kind of where my heart's at is offensive line play, being able to work under guys like Coach Heastan, and being able to carry on some of the things that he teaches to the high school level. Because a lot of people that he learned from were or one great influence of his was Joe Moore. And Joe Moore was a longtime high school coach. So being able to Kirk Ferentz was actually the captain of his state championship team from high school. So again, how all these pieces work together. But but just being able to come back and coach fundamental football with a massive emphasis on fundamental football. It's not schemes, it's not X's and O's. It's making sure that what we do in practice is stuff we do on game day, and we will do the basic mundane fundamentals until they're perfect. And once we get there, we'll continue drilling them to make sure that it's second nature. So being able to bring that from something that Seth did, being able to be an O-line fundamental guy, and then being able to carry that on with a couple of different influences, I think will be a great contribution to Providence.
You played for, and now you're taking over from Mark Coglanies, and said for years regarding Cogs, you know, you never want to be the guy to take over from the guy. And he was, and he did it so well for so long. And again, just a terrific personality, just a down to earth, salt of the earth guy, Cogs. And what were you able to learn from him, and what are you going to be able to carry on from his era into your era?
Well, it's really cool to be able to play for him and now kind of carry on his legacy now too, where he, a guy who again took over for Coach Seth, took on, won a state championships up to that point as a defensive coordinator, then a state championship in his own right, and been able to carry on what Providence is about has been awesome. And being able to learn from him is just a humble worker. He's a guy who does all the stuff, does it the right way. And then a guy who, again, takes pride in what he does. So being able to carry on that tough tradition from Sefner to Cogs to now me as the third coach is something that's kind of mind-boggling, but also something that I'm really excited to take on.
Fill us in where you're at right now as far as program-wide. I know you said before we started recording you got in the building about early mid-December. Still in the process of getting your coaches lined up, getting them in place. You know, I know Providence. I know those kids have been in the weight room no matter who the head coach is. I could be the head coach, and they would have already been in the weight room.
Yep.
So just kind of where you're at and kind of getting things going and moving forward with your program.
So the top priority right now for me has been the strength conditioning program, because that's where the culture starts and ends. So being able to get the guys in there, explain how we do things the right way, from snapping your foot down on the line to finishing through the line, all the way to proper techniques, to increasing work capacity, into how do we use 7 racks to get 50, 60 guys in the weight room. So being able to incorporate all of that has been the top priority. And the really cool thing is, while I was at Notre Dame, the strength coaches between Coach Longo and Coach Bayless always wanted me to come down and be a strength coach. So during the spring and the summer, whenever we didn't have football, I would spend basically the morning coaching in the weight room. So I was able to work with some pretty cool people during that time and learn from some pretty cool people between Coach Longo, Coach Bayless, and then people that have come through the building are Jake Flint, who's currently the head guy down at Louisiana State, David Blue, who's the head strength and conditioning coach down at Alabama, Robert Steiner, who just came from Southern Cal over to Georgia Southern, head strength and conditioning coach, Aaron Wellman, who's currently the head guy down at IU. So being able to, one, learn from these people, but two, a lot of these guys spent time in high school. So incorporating some things that they do now and did in high school in ways that I can get the most out of my guys during this offseason program has been really cool. And then the guys have been able to see it too, where some of these guys' technique over just a couple of weeks has really improved. Strength gains have been massive. So excited to see this over the course of a couple months. Yeah,
there's no doubt. I know that obviously 2021, no one was happy with how it wound up with 3-6 season. How much do you go through tape? How much do you start looking at kids, or are you more of a, hey, I'm a new coach, it's a clean slate, just let's see what I have in the weight room and we'll move forward? What's kind of your approach as far as kind of getting a little bit better of an idea what you're inheriting from your kids in your program?
I think it's critical to watch tape. always, whether it be watching the opponent or knowing your personnel. But yeah, right now being able to learn the roster in the weight room has been huge. So I'm the guy who leads it. I'm in there every day. So I'm starting to learn their personalities, learn what they're about, know who I have to get on, and know who's automatic and is going to work hard. But then also the tape's critical because you got to see what you're working with. A lot of people, when I walked in the door, they're like, who are you guys going to be offensively? Who are you guys going to be defensively? What are you guys going to run? What are you guys going to base out of? And I'm like, I can't make that decision right now. I need to learn who our players are more. I need to see what we're good at. Being able to construct an offense and a defense based off of personnel is critical. So if we have a couple great edge rushers, sure, let's go 4 down. Okay, we got a couple great skill players. Let's do more of a 3-down look. Offensively, do we have a couple great bruiser tight ends with a downhill back? Great, let's run the ball. All right, do we have 5 great wide receivers? Let's throw the ball around. So again, as I continue to learn the personnel and figure out who's going to contribute at the varsity level, and just after kind of picking minds with some people, we'll be able to move forward that way. But yeah, watching tape and learning who these guys are on the field as I learn who they are in the weight room is going to be a huge thing moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. I know another relatively big part of your job is you're out there selling your program. You're out there selling Providence Catholic to potential students. I know that it seems like maybe over the last year or two it seemed like there was one level that had really low numbers at Providence, and that was not unheard of. We've seen that all over the state, and overall participation numbers in football have been down for a handful of years over the state. Got to imagine just being at the forefront of your program and talking to kids, and you being a younger guy, obviously a ton of energy and ready to go. How much has that kind of played into your role so far at Providence? And I imagine it will as you continue forward.
It's been really helpful. I mean, being able to work under some all-stars between Mike Denbrock or Tommy Reese or Mike Elko, Clark Lee, again, some guys that are either coordinators or head coaches in their own right now. Being around the Nick Lazinskis and the Tyler Santucci's, I bring a wealth of institutional knowledge from the next level. But the most important thing when I talk about selling the program, I guess, is people inside of the building. Like, we have a great baseball program that has a lot of great athletes. So being able to be like, hey, yeah, schools are looking for guys that can compete. They're looking for guys that work hard. As much as every single kid wants to be a specialist in baseball, specialist in football, as an evaluator at the next level, you're looking for guys that are competing for your school. Do they love to compete? Do they like to stand up for their teammates? Because especially with that transfer portal stuff right now, you want to find ultimate competitors. So I keep busting Hussey's balls, who's going to Notre Dame right now. And I'm like, Notre Dame has honored every scholarship of any guy who's ever gotten hurt. Yep. So come out here, maybe throw the ball around or play some tight end or do something. Or Jude Allen, who's a baseball player, has been coming around a little bit for football. A couple basketball guys said that they were interested in coming out. So priority number one for me is making sure that these athletes, or I watched them play badminton last week, and I was seeing who was the big guys that had good feet and were able to hit the birdie back and forth. But again, just starting right there where
recruit your own building.
Recruit the building. That's priority number one, is making sure that the best athletes are out there competing for you. And it benefits us a lot. It teaches these kids movement skills. And beyond that, if I'm an evaluator at the next level, this kid, okay, he's a fast running back. He plays wide receiver. Why doesn't he run track? I mean, if you're the fastest kid in the school, you're running track.
Yep.
All right. If you got great hand-eye coordination, you're playing baseball. If you're a tough kid, you're probably wrestling. So being able to remove yourself, especially for parents and these kids that are looking to play at the highest level, go compete for your school.
I think what's neat is obviously coming off the college side and in the college assistant side. You mentioned recruiting and you mentioned the portal. You know, you've got firsthand knowledge of what's going on now, and even today, the short amount of time you've been out of it, things continue to change and evolve with recruiting. So, you know, and as you are well aware, the last couple of recruiting classes from a high school recruiting standpoint have been just absolutely brutal because of it. A lot less opportunities out there than there was before. So So how do you look at that from a coach and talk to your families and try to explain to them how this has gone down and trying to walk them through it? First of all, Tyler, I got to imagine it is a huge challenge just to have them kind of get their heads around it because it's been tough. I mean, a lot of people to this day, a lot of parents and families still aren't aware of what are these outside things pulling at the recruiting process. How do you walk them through that these days with a coach? Because it's a lot to walk them through.
Well, it's funny because they're putting together teams at Notre Dame to try figuring these things out. Like football staffs are putting together directors of the transfer portal, almost like recruiting is one thing. And then just having a foot on an understanding of what's going on in the transfer portal is a completely another thing. So talking to parents, they have to understand that the process will be a little bit slower in a lot of cases, where if a team's interested in you, I'm a little biased. So as a walk-on myself, it's almost like get your foot in the door and there's a good chance that a scholarship will be earned. If you can show loyalty to a program at this point, I think that's going to go a long way in a lot of cases where recruiting, obviously they want to have colleges are grabbing kids that are going from higher levels to lower levels, but still at the blue blood programs or coaches that have established resumes, they want to find guys that are going to be able to come in as freshmen, develop over 4 years and leave. So the portal has kind of docked a couple guys here and there, but being able to find the right fit in the right program and the right coaching staff, they still invest in kids for 4 years. Yeah. They're not looking for transfers. They're not fishing the portal for better talent. They want to be able to grow and develop players from the time they step in the door through spring, through fall, and then leave products of their coaching.
When you look at your path, and you mentioned you being a walk-on and going through and everything you were able to go through and learn, would you have done anything differently looking back?
No. I mean, I have no regret with any decision that I made. Again, it's like life's a learning process, but being able to kind of take no for an answer. I had a goal in mind, and kind of just the way I operate, you give me a glimmer of hope, I'm gonna take full advantage of it. So being able to get into school was one thing. Be able to try out, walk on, earn a spot on a team, earn a spot on special teams, then earn a scholarship it kind of helped develop who I am and what I'm about. Where I've always, again, Providence is the place where they develop tough kids, where we don't take no for an answer. No one's going to outwork us. We're going to be the toughest kids in the room. But then being able to take that to the highest level where I'm competing against the best players in the country elevates my game as a player, where you're competing against, like you read about the kids running 4 threes online and you're like, that's not real. And then you look over and you see it and you're like, holy cow, no, that is. Somebody can actually do that. Yeah. So being able to compete with those guys and against those guys, what I was able to learn as a player from my teammates, and then being able to learn from a high level of coaching, and then the mentality established of nothing's ever given to you. That started at Providence and through my time as a walk-on. It's something that I would never trade. Maybe I didn't score as many touchdowns as most. Shifted positions in theory. But again, being able to chisel my way as a fullback from a linebacker to a running back to a fullback to a special teams contributor is, again, it's finding a way. It's life's. If there's one thing I've learned, especially over this past year, is life's not easy, man. It's what are you gonna do with the cards that are dealt?
Yeah.
I mean, as a 5'8" guy who's not very fast, and being able to do that with just the mentality, I think is something that I hang my hat on and something I wouldn't change for the world.
Yeah, you lived it, and there's no better example of that than what you've gone through. So I think that looms huge with families and kids. There's no doubt about it. Before I cut you loose, and again, I appreciate you taking time out of your day. Program's yours now. You got the keys. You got the keys of the car. You're all ready to go. And what is in the back of your mind of something that, and you can tell me because no one's going to watch this anyway, but what is there one or two things in the back of your mind that you want to try or maybe do, whether it's something is minute as something you always did as warm-ups or a chant, or maybe a uniform combination? Can we see a little difference on that end? Anything up your sleeve as far as that is regarded?
Well, there's two things I've always thought of was I don't know how I feel about Charlie Celtic. I think we need to evolve into like Chuck Celtic or something.
Nice.
That's I'm getting a little pushback from that because this is who we are, but also I'm like, maybe let's have like not a glorified Mario with a sword. So again, it's trying to maybe rebrand there as a top priority.
Get some muscle, get some weight on this.
Exactly, something like we take pride in living in the weight room, and now we got this guy as our ambassador. So being able to figure that out, I think is one of the top priorities. And then also, I want to make sure that the guys that like built Providence come back, making sure alumni are part of this thing. Talking with guys and even myself, it's like it's hard getting back to school. It really is. But being able to put a great product on the field is huge. Like being able to, okay, we're winning. Guys want to be able to come back and see us win. People want to see us win championships again. Yep. But bigger than that for our guys, being able to understand who came before them, because that was always the biggest motivator for us and motivator for guys before me was you never wanted to play soft. You never You never wanted to let the group down. You never wanted to let anyone down. You wanted to maintain the standard or elevate it because of the people that came before you. So being able to get those people around, like Eric Steinbach, I think is going to stop by on Friday. Yeah. And Miles Boykin came back a couple of weeks ago. Talk with Danny Olsta and Eddie Olsta. Just bringing those people back and explaining what Providence meant to them and what it means and getting them involved with coaching. Or even if they can't coach, being able to be around a program in whatever capacity they can handle is huge for me. I mean, those are people that I look up to and still look up to this day, between Mike Berry or Gannon Novak and all of these guys that chiseled their way and set the bar for us is something that I want these guys to be able to see. That standard and expectation reestablished, and then again, just creating a fun environment for a Friday night for all the guys that are still in the area. So,
Coach, it is such a huge advantage. I don't think people realize when you have that loyal alumni base, and you see that with a lot of schools in the city in particular, where it's just you can feel that loyalty and how much they love that school. And I know that alumni base is there at Providence and has been. And to be fair, that you do have pretty active alum, but you never have enough.
You can never have enough. Yeah. I mean, just being able to get them right in front of the kids and being like, this is Eric Steinbach. Here's his resume.
Yeah.
This is Miles Boykin. This is who he is. And then being able to give them the floor and just feel the same things that they felt when they were here and being able to pass it on to the guys. Again, yeah, they do. The guys do love Providence, and everyone loves everything that they've done here. But being able to even elevate that to a top priority, I think is something that I want to be able to do here.
All right, I think you got us all fired up. You got me all fired up for Providence football. Thrilled to finally get a chance to talk. And again, unfortunately for you, we will run into each other again. And
that's not true. That is not true.
I'll hassle you during the season and try to drag you on some really bad radio show I host on WJOL.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, hopefully we could find a win this fall. If we can win a couple games, that would be
I think
that could help put these guys in good situations.
I think you'll be okay. So again, I appreciate your time and wish you nothing but the best of luck, and go get them, Coach.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time, and sorry for being a little tardy earlier. Thank you so much.
Not a problem. All right, we appreciate it. Tyler Plantz joining us from Providence Catholic, the new head coach, and stay tuned, everybody. More 20 minutes coming your way all winter long.